Oh, sorry about that. You caught me. I'm flying out tomorrow and I was just checking into the flight on my mobile phone. Wouldn't it be great if you could check into your hotel the same way? Wait, you can. I'm Brendan, your technology concierge. Today I'm joined by Harman Narula from Canary Technologies, and we're talking about contactless check-in. Welcome, Harman.
Hey, Brendan, thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Harman, in a couple of sentences, what is contactless check-in?
Absolutely. Contactless check-in, also referred to as mobile check-in or touchless check-in, digital check-in, basically refers to providing hoteliers with a solution that allows guests to check in prior to arrival. It's pretty simple. Hoteliers with Canary's contactless check-in solution, what guests are able to do is they automatically receive a link prior to arriving at the hotel. They'll be able to click that link, confirm the details of their reservation, upload a photo of their ID, input their credit card information, perhaps if there's any sort of additional amenities or upsells that they want to take part in, they're able to select those as well. And then they're able to quickly sign their registration card and submit. On the hotel side, they've now completed all the administrative components of the check-in prior to the guest even arriving. So it's really helping them streamline their operations in terms of not having to have guests wait when they get to the hotel in a line to actually check in.
And what is it then that guests really love about it?
Quite simply, contactless check-in is what guests are looking for and wanting. I think the pandemic has led to evolving guest preferences and guest needs. And I think actually Oracle and Skift recently ran a survey and they found that 71% of guests are now saying that they prefer a self-service check-in solution at the hotels that they're staying at. So it's certainly the way that kind of the world is moving and a lot of hoteliers are now adopting. Our solution, a lot of the benefits that the guest gets is that they don't have to download an app. They get a link, they can click it, and they can fill it in right there. There's no downloading of a new application or anything like that. And the entire experience of actually completing a contactless check-in takes just 60 seconds. Super quick, super easy, really intuitive for the guest. And it allows for them to not have to wait in a line once they actually get to the hotel.
Perfect. Yep. So very much like we've been doing with airlines for years, it's now available in hotels.
Absolutely.
From a staffing point of view, what do the hotel staff love about it?
I mean, very similarly, did I mention the lack of lines for the hoteliers? I think, oftentimes when you look at reviews or guest satisfaction index or guest satisfaction scores for hotels, the check-in experience is one of the biggest driving factors of a GSI score. So, reducing the time the guests actually have to wait in a line, that's obviously a very big factor. But honestly, for hoteliers, it's streamlining their operations. It's taking all the administrative components out of the check-in process and having the guest actually fill in and take part in that before they even arrive. One of the other big pieces for a lot of hotel owners is that we're seeing a significant reduction in fraud and chargebacks. And the reason for this is that when folks are filling in their check-in information prior to arriving digitally, we're now being able to run some fraud detection in the background to ensure that the information that's being put in and so forth is correct. Additionally, there's a ton of new additional revenue that's being driven. Now it's really easy for a guest to do some upselling, adding in some amenities prior to even checking in. We have certain customers that they're seeing hundreds of thousands of new revenue that's being driven from the contactless check-in process at this point. And then I think the last piece here is also predictability. Hoteliers are constantly trying to figure out, hey, am I going to have a no-show? Can I maybe overbook because I'm going to see some no-shows and so forth? When are these guests actually arriving? Should I be, blocking them into certain rooms if they're not actually arriving till really late in the evening or something like that? And contactless check-in does that, right? Because the guests are getting these links the night before, the morning of arrival. They're filling it in, and if they're actually they're going to be a no-show, we're now being able to predict that much more accurately based upon when they are or they're not filling in a contactless check-in.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. So what sort of hotels are using this solution already, Harman?
It honestly really spans the gamut. For us here at Canary, we're working with folks, high-end luxury chains, people like Rosewood and Four Seasons and Ultica and so forth, all the way to the economy and limited service folks as well. People like the Choices, Wyndhams of the world, along with a lot of the independent boutiques, everyone's kind of the benefit they receive and kind of their use cases is a little bit different in terms of like what they're trying to get at. But at the end of the day, operating a hotel is really similar. Whether it's, the check-in process today is really similar, whether it is an upper upscale property or a limited service property. The guests, the information that the hotels are collecting and that experience of actually checking into a property has not really changed drastically.
Yeah, that's very true. So a question hoteliers always ask is it difficult to implement?
Yeah, this is something that we think about a lot. And to give you guys a little bit of quick background on Canary, one of the things that's most important to us is making sure that everything that we provide hoteliers is easy, intuitive, simple to utilize. And not only utilize, but to set up and get up and running on. So something like contactless check-in with the Canary, we can get the hotel up and running in less than 30 minutes. It's really that simple, that straightforward. Everything's cloud-based. And this is something that, when we're seeing hoteliers be so short-staffed and understaffed right now, being able to get them up and running on this solution just like that, really quick, is really helping them. So implementation is a really big factor, and we pride ourselves in making sure that everything's seamless for the hoteliers.
Fantastic. A big question on everyone's mind then is it expensive?
Yeah. I think the value that hoteliers are getting from our solutions like contactless check-in far outweighs any sort of cost that they're actually putting into it. We have different types of pricing options based upon the different hotels because we do know the needs are a little bit different at different types of properties. Very frankly, though, once hoteliers start adding in things like upsells, whether that's like an early check-in, a late checkout, maybe some other amenities that they have on property, we're seeing that hotels are generating more than 10x what they're paying for a solution. So it's really paying for itself.
Wow. Okay. 10x. I love that. What advice would you give to a hotelier when they're looking at a solution? Are there any particular characteristics or features that they should be looking for in a solution?
Yeah, I think there's a few things that are really important for hoteliers to be thinking about as they're bringing on a solution, a digital solution for check-in. I think this is one piece of the digital guest journey, right? There's kind of the check-in piece, the checkout piece, the ability to kind of communicate with your guests while they're on property, maybe allowing the guest to purchase certain items and so forth. So really thinking about that comprehensively, and maybe you don't want to, or maybe you don't have the ability right now to engage the guest on the entire digital journey, but ensuring that you're working with somebody that is able to provide that entire guest journey. Additionally, under the hood, the technology really does matter. So being able to do things like, sensitive data collection, like credit card information, being able to process if needed, being able to collect things like an ID and so forth. Those are things that really, really matter in terms of actually providing the solution that is all encompassing for the guest. And then the last piece, I think, I mentioned it earlier, is this idea around reducing all barriers and hurdles for the guest to complete things like a contactless check-in, right? And being it mobile web, meaning they don't need to actually download an app and they can just click a link and fill it in. That's something that's extremely beneficial for the guest and drives a ton of adoption for your hotel. I think the parallels are really everywhere. You look at any sort of vertical, any sort of market outside of hospitality, and the demands and preferences and needs of guests are just moving more and more digital, right? And I think we see that with all sorts of verticals like telehealth and so forth as well. So hoteliers that are moving towards technology sooner rather than later is really going to give them that competitive advantage in the market. So I definitely highly recommend hoteliers take a look earlier rather than later.
Is there any advice that you give to a hotelier?
Yeah, I think the one piece of advice I'd say is, I was just kind of touching on it a little bit here, is that hoteliers are, we are seeing hoteliers are embracing the digital revolution in hospitality more and more. And the pandemic has only accelerated the needs and the demands from guests. So trying to make sure you're getting out ahead of that and actually viewing these investments in technology as drivers of ROI for your property, less as a cost center and more of a mechanism for you to drive more and new revenue, a mechanism for you to drive down labor and actually be able to meet the guest needs, and really a mechanism for you to deliver on that guest experience that you want so that you have repeat guests. So that's, that's the one piece I'd say, is that really think about these investments as an investment in the property, and less as necessarily just a cost driver.
That is fantastic advice, Harman. Harman, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Brendan.